Income flip. Guess what? Today I've got Bill Allen on the podcast with me. Bill, welcome to the Income Flip podcast.
Thanks, Rob.
Well, hey man, I'm curious. I want to deep dive a little bit on your experience. Your 20 years as a test pilot turned real estate investor. How the heck does that happen?
Well, I'm not sure. I had a commanding officer in college tell me that he bought a house at every duty station and he never lost money. That was in 1998. And I was like, oh, cool. Maybe I should do that and I'd buy some real estate. And I rented houses for a while. I graduated. I went into flight school and became a pilot for the Navy. And in flight school, I moved every 9 months. So I was in Ohio for a year, and then I went down to Pensacola. I was there for like 9 months. Then I moved to Corpus Christi, Texas. I was there for 9 months, moved back to Pensacola, 9 months, then Sandy. So I rented at all those places. I was like, buying a house, this sounds like too much. It was like, I couldn't even think about it,
Mm-hmm.
And then I moved to San Diego, and I was going to be there for 3 years, was the plan. And I was like, cool, I'll buy a house. That was in 2006. And I bought a condo 1 block off the beach for like $385,000. I sold that in 2009 for $200,000. So it's like $185,000 less than what I bought it for. So
Oof.
that guy was a liar, But there was a government program called HAP. It was Housing Assistance Program. It bailed me out from that and basically broke me even. And I was able to kind of start over. I bought another house in Pensacola in 2009. I sold a car to buy that house and put the down payment down, got a regular loan, and then I rented it out, and then from then on it was just like real estate I was tracking my net worth, and real estate was making me good money. Like that house was going up in value, the rent was coming in, it was paying down the mortgage. Like my net worth was going up faster than all the stock investments that I've been doing.
Bill, let me ask you a question though. That first one could have stopped you. Right, that first one could have just been like, you know what, I'm never gonna do that again. But just 3 years later, you bought another house. So what was that? Where did that come from?
So I didn't think I really understood what was happening in the housing market.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a big investor. I didn't get crushed. I was losing like $800 a month on rent on that house when I rented it out. When I left San Diego, I was renting it out. I was losing like $700 or $800 a month. But my income was high. I was still single. I wasn't spending a lot of money. I usually would invest like 60% of my salary at that time. So I was really frugal. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I really understood what was going on, to be honest. Like I wasn't watching the news. I never really have been somebody who watches the news and listens to everybody else and the hype. And so people are like, yeah, don't do real estate. But I didn't want to keep renting houses. Like I really did believe that I enjoyed owning my place in San Diego. I wanted to do it again. And I was like, you know what? The housing prices have come down. Like this is actually like in 2009 when I moved to Pensacola, I was like, dang, I can get a house like cheaper than I could have 3 years ago.
Everything was 50% off.
Yeah. And I mean, this guy was playing hardball a little bit. I paid probably more than I should at the time, but it was like, I was like, this thing's on sale. And after buying it was a 1-bedroom condo in San Diego. I mean, the house that I bought in Pensacola was like half that price, and it was a beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a nice neighborhood. And I was like, okay, well, I can afford this. Why would I rent? And so I don't know. I just don't think I ever got caught up in the hype. I had broken even. Actually, when I bought that house, when I bought it, I was still renting that other house out.
Okay.
So I hadn't sold it yet. I bought that house. I sold the car. It was like a Mustang, 2003 Mustang Cobra. It was like a really nice car. I was like, I don't want to sell it, but I need a down payment, and I don't have any other money, so I sold it. I put the down payment on this house, and I'm so glad that I did, because I think that was a big turning point in my life, of my real estate journey for sure, which is a big part of where my worth is now and everything that I do. So I think I hadn't I didn't know yet. I hadn't taken that hit. Probably when I bought that next house, I was still renting it out, and then shortly after, a good friend of mine who was a realtor just kept telling me, he was a realtor in San Diego. He was like, "Dude, you got to sell this place. You could bail out, but you just do it, man, and get rid of it." Because I could not sustain an $800 a month loss for the next 5-6 years while I waited. I mean, that thing's worth like $600,000 now. So someone got a great deal on it, and what he wanted me to do was he wanted me to sell that and then buy another one. because he knew what was going to happen, and he was right.
Got it.
But I didn't have cash. It was all cash. Like there was a bunch of HOA legal issues in that building, and you couldn't get a mortgage, so you had to sell it for cash.
So it depreciated the asset value, and people were picking those up at like super low prices. I remember.
I called my dad, and I was like, "Dad, we got to buy one of these." My friend says, and if I had no idea what I was doing, my dad's like, "I don't believe you. Like, I don't trust you. Like, you don't know what you're talking about." And he was right. He was right. But looking back, like, sure, it would have been a great investment. But I made others. So I think that's it. I don't think I knew. Like, I didn't know enough to be able to get in my way. I think a lot of people, that's the problem today. Like, information is so available. You're watching all this stuff. You're listening to 50 different podcasts, reading 100 different books, and you're just so confused that you don't know what to do, so you just get stuck. And so I just couldn't get stuck. Like, I just was like, okay, keep moving forward.
Well, what was the evolution? What did it look like then? Like, because it sounds like you've created a lot of different businesses that have been the offshoot of that first one deal that you did. So help me kind of understand the thinking, the evolution of your business, and how it's splintered off into other businesses.
Yeah, so my goal at that time was like, I just want to build this like small rental portfolio, maybe like 10 houses. That was my plan over the next 5 years or something, like something really small. And so I did that. Bought that house, and I was living in it. And I knew that I was going to move eventually, so I just rent it out when I moved to another pilot. And I was watching all these, like flipping TV shows,
Sure.
And I was like, the master bedroom and bathroom had been renovating, the floors had been renovated through the house, but the spare bathroom was like old, ugly, and disgusting. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to do what they do on these TV shows. I'm going to fix this thing up, and then I'm going to do the kitchen after that. And so I just took a sledgehammer one day to the bathroom, not knowing how to put it back together. I was just like, demo day, like they did on TV, and I just smashed the crap out of this thing. Like, I ripped everything out. I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. I know how I'm going to put all this back together. I just don't know how. And so I did that, and then I took a step back, and I was like, oh crap, I got to put this thing back together. And so on my downtime on the weekends and the evenings, I was like going to Home Depot, and I bought the Home Depot 1, 2, 3 book, that orange book, and I was watching some YouTube videos. My uncle was a contractor in Maryland, and so I was in Florida. I just would call him from time to time. He told me about like these Schluter shower things and these all this stuff. I was like, okay, cool. Like, he just told me what to get. And then I just started watching it and learning it. I love to learn new things, so this gave me something to do, to stay out of trouble, really. Like, I'm young, I'm a pilot, I'd probably just be at the bar drinking all the time. And so I did that. That was my kind of hobby at that time, was kind of learning how to work on houses. And so I did that, fixed up the bathroom, it came out beautiful. And then when I left, I rented that. I never got to the kitchen. I never did rehab the kitchen. And so
the bathroom took you 7 months.
That's right. Yeah. After the bathroom, I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I think I'm good here.
You got that. You scratched that. You scratched that itch.
Yeah. And so I left there, rented it out to an Air Force guy for the next 3 years. And then I went to England. My next job was in England, going to test pilot school, which you mentioned. And while I was there, I was tracking my net worth again. I was making money there. I was like, dang, I need to buy more of these rental houses. Like, this thing's really doing well. And when I came back to Maryland, I rented a house, and I bought another house on short sale in a better neighborhood. So I lived in a crappy neighborhood, and my rent was like $1,800 a month.
What part of Maryland?
It was southern Maryland in Patuxent River. So I was at Patuxent River, Naval Air Station, Lexington Park. And so I bought a house in an area where all the families wanted to live, and then I rented a house in kind of a crappy area out the back gate that was close to the base and could get me there and back quick. It was cheaper. So I think I was renting our house to somebody for like $2,800, and mine was like $1,800. And so I fixed that house up. That house had a 1,000 square foot unfinished basement, so I bought it as a short sale. And the basement was unfinished. I finished the whole basement to add an extra bathroom and a bedroom, and massively increased the value of that home. And me and my wife, we got married. I met a girl in England, came back, we got married, and she helped me with that house. We fixed it up in 6 weeks. 1,000 square foot basement finished in 6 weeks. And then rented that house out. And there was an Australian guy that was coming over from Australia. I had all these connections from Australia from my test pilot school, and he was coming to the U.S. test pilot school, and him and his family were renting that for like the next year and a half. So rented that out, and then I was looking for another one, and I found another one through the same realtor that helped me find that one. and I was going to fix it up to rent it out. But she said, why don't you try selling this house, like fixing it up and selling it and making a profit that way? And she wanted a second commission. She wanted the purchase commission and the sale commission, which I don't blame her. But I fixed it up same way. We fixed it up. We sold it. We made $43,000, and that was half of my military salary. So that triggered this flipping side of like, wow, like this feels really good. It took me 6 months to get through. I buy it, fix it up, and close on it, and sell it. But I was like, can I do this again? I'm an engineer. I'm a data person. I'm like, but prove that this was not a fluke. And so it was like, took me 6 months to find the next one. We had moved. I tried to find one quick because I had a good contractor there. I had a good realtor. I felt like I could get it started, and then my contractor could do it even after we moved. But I moved to Pensacola again after that, and 3 months later of living there, I found another house that we did. We made $45,000 on that 6 months later, and I was like, okay, it's a proven model, it works. I should do more of this, and that's when the next year we did 67 houses the next year.
Wow,
yeah,
that's great. Did you leave what you were doing? That's
no,
not when you were taught. You did that?
Yeah, I was still active duty. So this was in 2015 and 2016. So what I did was I joined a coaching program, which really helped me. Like I got around people who were doing like 100 deals a year. Like I was listening to these people on podcasts, and I was like, they're lying. This is not true. Like prove it. I feel like I'm like naturally skeptical. It's just like
the engineer.
I'm very analytical, naturally skeptical. Like they're lying. This is not possible. Like they can't do this. I did one, and it almost killed me. Like there's no way that somebody's doing 100 houses and it's not even where they live, and they don't know how to fix up the houses. This guy was like, I don't even know how to screw in a light bulb. I was like,
I've never put a bathroom together. I've never demoed a bathroom.
No, but I know how to do bathrooms, and I know how to finish basements, and I rewired the house by myself. Like I did all this stuff. The only thing I hate doing is drywall. I suck at that. So it's like I was like, this is not true. They're lying. And then I just kept listening and kept listening. There was one podcast I remember where he's interviewing his assistant. And I was like, wow, this woman knows what she's doing. Like, she's really smart. She understands what's happening. She's doing all this stuff. And he's, like, on the beach somewhere managing her. And he knows how to manage people. I was like, this is really cool. Let me go check this out. So I ended up, like, the cheap person that never bought a book or an event or anything like that. Ended up, like, putting $25,000 into my future investment of joining a mastermind group. And when I got there were two guys that were the leaders of this, and they were both doing a couple $1 million a year in real estate, hundreds of deals. And the whole time that we were there for 3 days in this conference room, they were sitting at the end of the table with no computer and no phone out, 100% focused on us. And I was getting emails about their deals in my inbox because I was working. And I was like, wow, like, okay, and they were normal people. They were wearing like t-shirts, shorts, and sandals. They had a family, they had kids. They were just like if you sat next to them on the airplane, you would never even know that they're making millions of dollars. And I never met somebody who made $1 million a year before, ever. I think that my ceiling at that time was 150 grand a year. I was like, only person I ever knew who was like big shot in my life was making 150 grand a year. And so I was trained, it was dialed into my brain my entire life. Bill, go get a job, make $150,000 a year, and you'll be set for life. And I got in that room and I was like, dang, I'm a hyper competitive person. Yeah. So I was like, if there's someone else out there that now I know they're making $1 million and they're not some villain, they're actually helping people, like a lot of that is villainized.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And I was like, dang, like if they can do it, I can do it. I was like, I mean, I hate to say this. I realize it's recorded and it's going to go out there, but I was like, I'm smarter than these people. Like,
of course.
Mechanical
it's the
engineering
engineer, the data person.
And aeronautical engineering master's degree, test pilot. The government paid $1.6 million for me to go to test pilot school. Like, I was like, I can do like high level mathematics that these guys can never heard of. But they know how to make money and I don't. Like, and so I was like, okay, there's no ego here, drop all this crap and let me learn from them. And when I was talking earlier about like too much information and there's so much noise out there, I just turned off all the noise and I listened to them. And if they told, I was Daniel's son and they were Mr. Miyagi. They told me to paint the fence, I painted the fence,
Wax
and
on,
they
wax
told
off.
me to wax. Yeah, I did it, and I was just like, I'm going to be the best student on the planet, and I did. And And so, yeah, we did in 8.5 months. Me and my team, I built a small team. We did 67 houses. So 12 of those were full-on flips, like full renovation projects. And then 55 of them were wholesale deals where we just sold the contract. And we did like almost $700,000 in top-line revenue that year. And I made probably $550,000 of that.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
And I was still flying full-time. This was in 2016. I was an active-duty Navy pilot. And listen to this, I was flying every day for about 12 hours. 10 to 12 hours a day I worked, Monday through Friday, and then 1 weekend a month I had to go fly somewhere. And I was not just like flying commercial with internet access. I was strapped to an ejection seat. I had an oxygen mask on, a G suit. I was out flying these students who were trying to kill me on a regular basis in this lawn dart airplane that's called a T6, Texan 2. And so I couldn't just like answer the phone when somebody was calling me. I couldn't work from the cockpit. I had some breaks. If the weather was bad, I was able to kind of jump in and do some things. But I mean, I had a real job, just like a lot of people do. And I built a pretty cool system around what they were teaching me to hire a few people and have them do the work while I was flying.
I love that. It was a blessing, actually, that you were held hostage in that job, because it forces you
Yeah.
it forces you to build an actual business, right?
Yep.
So at the end of 67 transactions, like in 8 months, there was probably some ahas that you had through that experience. There were like lessons learned, ahas. What were some of those things?
Yeah, I'd say the first one is like people are really important. I was really scared to hire somebody. I remember telling my coach, Andy McFarland, I was like, dude, I do not want to hire anybody. Like, I'm deathly afraid to hire these people. I'm just, no, I'm not going to do it. I won't do it. I was afraid to be responsible for their pay and their family and food on their table and stuff like that. There was something inside of me that was like, what if this doesn't work? What if I can't do it? And so that was a big thing for me. And to get, like, I got past it. Basically, he was just like, my need to win, my drive, my kind of like ego side drove me past that. But he just looked at me and was like, so you did one deal last year and it took you 6 months and you want to do 12 this year? My goal is to do 12. He's like, how do you plan on doing that by yourself? And I was like, I don't know. You're the big shot with the system. Why don't you tell me? Like, that's why I hired you. You know, I was like, really, that's our first call. And he's like, well, you know, I got a bunch of people that help me do it. So if you're not willing to do that, then yeah, I don't really even know if I can help you. So why don't you think about that, and then we'll talk next week.
Yeah.
So what I realized was the system is the people.
Yeah.
You and to be able to delegate things and not think that you can do it. You're not the best at it. You know, I was like, oh, I'm better than everybody else at this. Like, I don't trust anybody to do this. I'll just do it myself. It'll save me money. It'll save, you know, all this stuff. And so that's one thing. I need people. Like, you really need people. And what I also realized is in the beginning, they don't even have to be the best people. You know, like 70% or 60% of you 3 times over inside the company. Now there's 2 of you or 3 of you out there, you know? So if I get 3 people that are at 60% of what I could do, you know, that's what, 180% of me. And then I also have me. So now we have 2.8 of me. So when I just like mathed it out, I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, I think
Dan Martell says 80%, somebody doing something 80% is 100% awesome.
That's right.
Like, I love that.
Yeah, totally. And so that was a big one for me. The second one is that like nothing is really that easy either. Like, you actually have to work. And so I would wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I would work in my office till 7 a.m. And then my wife would get up. We had a baby shortly after that. My son would get up, and then I would have breakfast with them, and then I would go to work, and I would work. I could answer a couple questions via text message, maybe delayed, of course. But and then when I came home, we would have dinner. Me, my wife, and our son Will. He was a baby, and then I'd play with him for a little bit, and then we'd put him to bed, and then my wife went on the couch to watch TV, and I went back in the office till like 10:30, and I did that for a year. And on the weekends, I was working. Like, I would go to the job site. When I wasn't flying, me and my wife's date night, we're at Home Depot picking out tiles and things, you know? And so I got stuff done when it needed to get done. I had to work, and I told my wife, I said, look, I'm not gonna be around a lot this year, and we won't probably have a lot of time together. but I'm going to set us up for life. If this works, like I think it can work, I'll build a business that'll take care of us for the rest of our lives, and I'll be around all the time. And so that was kind of the agreement I made with my wife. She was into it. She was cool with it. What I will say, I failed the next year because I didn't renew the contract with her. I just kept assuming that it was on auto renewal, and I just kept building more and more and more things. And very slowly, we kind of like went about a degree apart for a long period of time. So if I could say anything to the husbands and wives out there, it's like if you're working a lot, then renew that contract every year. Sit down and say, hey, I'd like to keep doing this because it feels good. I enjoy it. I love it. And I would say I was around a lot, but she would always think that I was working. Like my phone just looked like a job site all the time. And so even if I was just messing around on my phone or texting my dad, she would think that I was working. And so
I think that this is a classic entrepreneur trap, right? Like I was in that cycle. Oh God, let me see. I've been self-employed 20 years, and I think it was like year 10 where my wife was like, hey, I'm not having any fun anymore, right? You're 1 degree separation. You're here, but you're not present, right? Because we're like building things in our head. Like, and in the meantime, like we're having fun, like, and I'm having fun building this thing, and she's not having fun. I mean, she was a partner in it, but eventually it's like, our pillow talk was like, what's the P&L look like? How many properties do we have under management right now? Like, it just, so you have to renew the contract every year, which is such good advice, Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I did that. And so like, we had a big decision to make recently with a TV show. We have a big decision to make with me going to consult with a really big brand and big business. And last night we had a date night. I asked her, I said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What does that look like? Or should I? What do you think? And she really just wants her opinion to be heard. She wants me to ask her. And then she said, well, what would that look like? I told her, and she goes, well, do you want to do it? And I said, I'm not sure yet. Like, I want to explore it. But, after I explore it, then I'll come back to you and we'll talk about what it might look like. And I might be gone for a week, a month, because it's in another state for the next, few months, 6 months or so. But then I think I can dial it in, don't have to travel as much. But it would be a really fun position and job for me to do, and I think I'd get a lot out of it, and I'm excited about it. She said, okay, well, if you want to do it, then go explore it, and then we'll come back and talk about it. And so I think she just wants to be part of the process. And the first few years, she just wasn't. Like, I asked her that one time, and then I just made an assumption. And so that's a big thing, I think, that hopefully people can take away. So that's a big lesson that I learned. There's hundreds and hundreds of them.
Well, let me ask you a question. What I heard you say, like I'm a big advocate of having people understand that they're building 2 machines at all times. Like in the business that we're in, you're building this cash machine, right? Whether it's as an agent or you're fixing and flipping homes, you're wholesalers, right? It's all earned income, active income, in hopes that you're actually buying assets along the way that over time is building your net worth, right? And is providing cash flow to you. So you started building this cash machine on the wholesale side. Do you still have that business today, by the way?
I do. I don't run the business. I'm not the CEO, but I am an owner of the business. So I brought in a partner about 3 years ago, and he's a majority partner. So he runs the business. He does the work. Sometimes if he needs some money, he might call me, but we really don't talk about it that much, and he runs it. It does 50 to 60 deals a year now. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and by the way, there's these sweet spots, right, where like the business creates this balance between life and profit. It's a sweet spot sometimes for owners. So it sounds like that was, you probably got to a point where you're like, hey, this is a machine. I'm willing to give an opportunity to somebody else. I'm willing to get an annuity stream from this asset that I built from the ground up, probably to go build something else, I would imagine.
Yeah. What happened was I left. So the mastermind group I joined was called 7-Figure Flipping. So I joined this program, did 67 houses the first year, did 135 the next year. I did 187 the year after that. And they were doing 200 deals a year in Pensacola, Chattanooga, and Nashville for a few years after that, from like 2015 to 2020. And then I hired a COO. The guy who runs the mastermind asked me to become a coach. I said, oh, that's cool. I'll do that. I'll hire a COO for my real estate business, let him run the company. I'll work with him. So I built this, we had like 10 employees at that point. We were doing hundreds of deals a year. He left Nissan and came from a big company to come work with me. Very entrepreneurial guy though. And then I went to become a coach inside Seven Figure Flipping. Then I became the COO of that company. I was running all the back end operations for that business and scaling it and growing it. And then I bought it after like another year. So 5 years ago, I bought the company of the coaching program and mastermind that I joined originally. So I bought it from my mentor, Justin.
Oh, wow.
Andy is my partner in that business, so the guy who was a coach of mine. So he's one of my small partners.
That's cool.
And
Full
then
circle.
yeah, and then my real estate business, Blackjack Real Estate. We went through COVID. We had at COVID we had 200 deals at a time around that time. We were about to scale to we were trying to do 1,000 deals a year nationwide. So that was going to be a nationwide wholesaling company was our plan. Spending a lot of money on dev for some things that we were doing on that. And then COVID happened, and it's just everything stopped. For 3 months, we came out with a great market, but I had payroll, I had manpower, I had all the contracts and all the money and all in the pipeline. And like you said, I'm not somebody who leaves my money in the business. I pull the money out and I buy assets. And so we had to retool that business. I had to kind of part ways with my COO. We're partners in another business that buys houses and fixes them up and sells them on owner financing in Kentucky now. And then I had to jump back in. So instead of jumping back in, I really couldn't because Seven Figure Flipping needed all my time. I had just bought it 6 months before. And so I had to find some creative strategy. So I brought in a partner who was one of our coaching members, a Marine Corps officer who's phenomenal. And I basically just said, here, it's kind of like a problem child that I have right now. Come in and let's bring it out of this where it is together. Yeah. And so it was out of necessity, like you said. Another income stream, something that I built from the ground up that I just didn't want to sell or give away or shut down. And I thought it would really also accelerate his growth and give him an opportunity to shine because he was just starting to get traction, but I saw the potential of him in the future. It was me 3 years ago or 4 years ago. So I threw him in there and we kind of combined our two companies and he took it over and is running it today. Amazing. Funny enough, I just hired that same guy, my partner in the real estate business, to be the CEO of Seven Figure Flipping while I go do some other things. So it's kind of, so, and now we have 6 companies, but you mentioned I love the active income stream and net worth and passive income stream because many people don't do that. They build an active income machine. They don't ever pull their money out of it. They don't ever build their net worth. And all they do is say oh, one day this is going to pay me a ton of money. No, you just built a really expensive, really maybe high paying or usually low paying job for yourself. You built another job, another prison, another box that you're in, and you've got to be sucking. The reason for a business is to create profit, to take out of the business, to put in your bank account, and you buy assets. So I did, from very early on, I was buying assets, rental houses in the beginning, and then I pivoted to some other things after that and sold all those rentals. And now I own a lot of apartment buildings. So it's just kind of moved from rental houses to apartment buildings. Although I did just make an offer on two rental houses this week. So
because you're a deal junkie, that's what happens. You see a good opportunity, and you're like,
you're exactly. I have a 13-acre farm in my backyard. Is another property I bought a few years ago, and then 2 houses that are attached to it just came up for sale. It was an elderly couple, and then their kids live right next door, and the 94-year-old guy has dementia, so they moved to Murfreesboro to be closer to their church. And I saw the signs go up, and immediately I texted the agent, can I look at these? And I made him a cash offer, and then I just made him a creative financing offer today to increase my price a bit. So hopefully they take it tonight.
That's great. Yeah, we did that recently. We had 26 acres, and then we saw another 9 acres that butted up to our property, and we saw the price that they wanted. And it was way too much. They wanted way too much. And then my business partner called me and said, hey, that property that was budding adjacent to our property, it's going into foreclosure in 3 days. I just noticed. And we scrambled at the last second. We bought it. We added it to our 23, right? And it was great. It was a win-win for the seller, win-win for us because we own the asset. And
you know what the best part of that is when I think of all the things that I've learned over the last 10 years or so in this business, the skill that we have that no one can take from us. So what people discount a lot is the value of experience. It's oh, well, what did I get from that program? Or what did I get from that event? Or what did I get from this? I lost money on this house. Like, that sucked. Like, I took a step back. Like, no, you didn't. You took like 2 steps forward. You just don't even realize it yet. And so I was talking to a guy yesterday who's in my office, big influencer, has like, I don't know, 15 million followers on TikTok and Instagram, and like 2 million on YouTube, like all this, like huge. And we're talking about his net worth, talking about building assets. Like, the guy has the ability to make a ton of cash, but doesn't understand like the back end assets of it. And he was like, maybe I kind of want to get into real estate. I was like, dude, you can go. He said, I can go on Snapchat this week and make $150,000. If I just focus on it and work on there and just like document my week, I'll make 150 grand. I said, you should not even touch. There's no reason why you should go over here and learn for the next like 2 years how to flip houses or do apartments. All you need to do is take that cash and park it in an apartment building with somebody else and let them do it. Because I talked to him, I was like, how long did it take for you to find the last property that you bought? He was like, I don't know, like 8 months. And I was like, and about how much time did you spend in there? He's like, maybe like 5 or 10 hours a week, like answering emails and calls and going to see different properties and stuff. I was like, you realize that you gave up almost $1 million in income to spend 8 months to basically buy $100,000 in equity. Whereas I walk into that property, I look at it, it took me 15 minutes to look at both houses, and it took me a half an hour to make an offer.
Yeah.
That I was comfortable with. Because, like, so the experience that we have and what you can do, like the way that you can think about that property and immediately make a call and just make an offer and say, here it is, like, and work it out and get it done, like, that is something that nobody can ever take from us, ever. Unless we get dementia like the 94-year-old guy. But like, like the investment that I made can pay me for the rest of my life. And that's what a lot of people don't realize when they go to an event or they buy a course or anything like that. If you actually learn it and get some experience, it can change your life forever.
100%. I mean, part of it is proximity, like committing to a process for an extended period of time. Like, what you reminded of, people get bored, and so they change their focus, right? They get this, they built something, then they get bored, then they decide. And by the way, I'm speaking to myself, right? Like,
me too. You're talking to me too.
we have 9. I mean, all of it is synergistic because we have a holding company and there's 9 businesses underneath that one holding company. And I understand we call it ringing the bell, how to create cash out of these small businesses. But part of it, a lot of times, is just like, I get bored and I see opportunity somewhere and I decide, hey, we're going to go do that. And I have to be careful that I'm not getting distracted with the thing that I know just kind of like stamps out cash. I take that cash, I buy assets. I take this cash, I buy assets, right? So I guess my follow-up question, right? Like, you built Blackjack, and then you partnered with somebody to help with Blackjack to create an annuity stream for you. You became the CEO of Seven Figure Flipping. And what does that look like if somebody joins the program, Seven Figure Flipping? I'm just curious. Like, what does that look like? What does somebody learn? What could somebody expect?
Yeah, we have a couple different different programs. The entry level programs called Seven Figure. It's all aviation terms. When I took over, I rebranded stuff, so it's called Seven Figure Runway. So we kind of like get the people the basics. They're beginners. They might have flipped like one house, or they bought their own house, or they're a realtor or something and have done a couple deals. And people just getting started. We definitely have folks that have never done a deal before. So for them, they need a few things. The number one thing that I think people need there is accountability. Mm-hmm. And because it's very easy to get lost in programs like this. So we have small group accountability. It's like 5 to 8 people that meet every single week for 90 days. And you got a rest run cycle. Like, you got to run for 90 days, and your motivation kind of starts waning towards 90 days, and that's when we do an event. So we do an event every 90 days for people. It's typically in person, but we also like stream virtually for those that can't make it now. It's kind of hybrid. I always prefer people come in person, because just when you network and meet somebody in person, that feeling that I got when I sat next to Andy McFarland when he's wearing t-shirt, shorts, and sandals, like, you come to my office and you come to my farm. Like, we have an event on my farm. You see where I live. Like, I'm nothing special. Like, you come and you're just like, dang, I didn't know, like, his kids were screaming and his wife's yelling at him just like me. So, all this, my life's crazy. And so you get to see all that. And so I think that's a big part of just the realization that anybody can do this business. And so we do an event every 90 days. And then obviously we have a video course, like a lot of people do for those, especially those that like to, learn on their own time. And then we do coaching calls. So we have, so it's accountability, community, and this enhanced opportunity is what we look at. So those are the 3 things that I make sure in all of our programs we have that. and it's really like on the forefront. So the enhanced opportunity is like, this is something new that you're learning. The community is, the events, the Facebook group, the coaching. And then we do something a little bit different. In the military, you need scenario-based training and simulation to really learn anything. So the real challenge is risk. Like when people see risk, they stop and they don't move forward. And if you've never been in a high-risk profession or a high-risk environment, like you're a W-2 employee and you're used to being like asked what to do, and you've never been shot at or a building burning down that you have to run into, a lot of times thinking about like an investment like a $200,000 house or making this like $600,000 offer that I just made on 2 houses, like you get stuck and you cannot move. So what we do is we try to allow people and train people how to make those decisions in risk-free environments, in a simulator, in simulation. So a lot of our coaching calls are kind of putting somebody in a situation and letting them decide their way out of it instead of telling them what to do. So most programs are learn, ask, do. So I learn something via a video course. I ask some questions from a coach, and then I'm expected to go do it. And then every coach says, just take more action, Bill, just take more action. Like, yeah, easy for you to say because you are now like, you've done it. You have the experience. You understand the risk-reward structure. So we put them in a scenario-based training and coaching environment where they can make the decisions, and then when they do that, I can see how they're making their decisions, how their brain's working, the questions that they're asking, like where the gaps in knowledge are, and then we can go train to that. So we do like real training as opposed to like just learning. So I think that's what's missing in almost every program. So that's something that I brought from the military to there. So that's kind of the runway program. Altitude's pretty much very similar, except these are people that are doing 10, 12 deals a year or more and looking to scale through people usually. It's people and systems that they're building out, they're starting to hire, and then they're growing that. So this is kind of the 2 programs. We have an annual event called Flip Hacking Live every year. It's coming up in October. This is where, in fact, your 2 machines are exactly what I'm teaching there. It's called the 10K Way. I'm teaching people how to get, $10,000 of passive income in ideally in 2 years or less, using the active income model through real estate to then like a buy 2 keep 1 type program.
Yep.
Like flip 2 keep 1, flip 2 keep 1, flip 3 keep 1. But I see so many people, they're on the active side nonstop and they're just like, they never pay themselves, or they're on the passive side and they're always broke because you can't eat equity. And so we called it hybrid Harry. You got to have hybrid Harry, like somebody who's doing both. And those are the people that I see that can withstand downturns. So that's what we do inside 7-figure flipping. Is I really just kind of try to help people build a business that can operate without them in a couple stages.
Where do you think when they start building the business? Because a way to think of that cash machine is if you actually build it like a business. You could almost view it as a property, right? Like I started viewing some of those smaller businesses as like they're assets, they're a property. Like I know what levers to pull and who to put in place to generate a return from that business. But if you get the financial model wrong, and if you get the hiring wrong, right, it doesn't work. So do you have to go in when people are approaching, you're probably giving them like, hey, this is what your cost of sale has to look like when it comes to your paying your wholesalers, paying, like, it's different for wholesaling versus fixing and flipping, right? I'm sure you give them that whole model, but how do you structure it? Like, what does that financial model look like for, let's say, because this will be helpful, I think, for my audience, from a P&L perspective, when it comes to top line, like a goal, top line revenue, cost of sale, expenses, net profit margin.
Yeah, so like you mean like if I could take every wholesaler that I know on average, like what does that kind of business look like?
What I mean is, what does the optimal wholesaling business look like from a P&L perspective?
Yeah, so I think there's one number in a wholesaling business that is probably the most important number for most people. That if you could only track one number in your business, would be it. This is kind of like the money ball. It's the amount of money that you spend on marketing to the amount of money that comes in. So if I have this, if I'm spending, so when I got started, I'll give an example. When I got started, for every $1 I spent on marketing, I made $7 in my business. And that was on direct mail. This was in 2015, okay? So if you're doing this right now, congratulations. I'd like to talk to you. You can come in and speak at any conference I have if you're making $7 for every $1 you're spending on direct mail. And so when you're tracking this, like I was doing direct mail and then I added pay-per-click like after about a year. And pay-per-click started producing $1 for every, or $15 for every dollar I spent on pay-per-click, like Google Ads. And I was like, holy crap, like $15 for every dollar I spent. This is a gold mine. And so what I started doing, and I'll take you where you want to go. I stopped doing direct mail as much. And what I found was my business completely stopped.
Yeah,
and I was like,
layered.
what the heck is happening? I was making $15 for every dollar I spent on pay-per-click, and now I'm making like $6. And then my direct mail, I turned that way down because I put more money, I siphoned more money over to pay-per-click. And it was because I had a logo, my company logo, on our direct mail cards. And so people would get the card and then they'd Google Blackjack Real Estate and then they'd click on the top thing, which was a paid ad. And they didn't know they were on a paid ad. They'd fill out a form and then we would attribute that to pay-per-click. But they never would have Googled me if they hadn't got the mailer. So the reason I tell that story is because if I'm doing those, like the data tracking and management of a wholesaling business is the business. Like you understanding where every single lead and deal is coming from and why, and what the first touch point was for those people, will give you good data on the front end. Good data in equals good data out. Bad data in equals very, very bad stuff out, and it'll screw you up, and you'll chase your tail around in a circle forever. So if you have that, then tracking your marketing is really, because I mean, wholesale is tough. It's not like you just knock on a bunch of doors and get deals, or somebody's like, oh, hey, my friend at church has a house they want to sell, they should talk to you. Like, that's few and far between. It'll happen. You'll get referrals, and if you have a good system for it, but typically it's paid marketing. And what you're doing is you're putting money out on the front end to bring it in on the back end, you know? And so what I love about flipping is I have an asset. Like a wholesaler, their asset is their marketing machine. And their strategy and those kind of things. Their asset is that. It's the CRM, it's the leads that are coming in, it's that kind of stuff that you're then squeezing to make as much money out on the back end. So if you know that, I would say if you have no employees and it's just you can make $3 for every dollar you spend on marketing and make money. Now, if you have employees, you probably need to be somewhere between $4 and $5 minimum, just depending on how much your payroll is. So at that point, you just look at fixed expenses, and you start understanding the weight of marketing versus fixed expenses. And then you can map it out to the back of how much money I have to make on the back end. And it's a pretty easy business, but the main focus is my marketing dollars being spent in the right area to give me the best return possible? And it's not, it's a little more like complicated than all of what we're talking about. A business is simply marketing and sales, operations, and finance. It's that easy. And so the marketing side is great, but then somebody's got to talk to them on the phone. If that person sucks, then your numbers are going to go down on the back end. If the person that has to go on the appointment is not very good at sales, that's going to go down on the back end. If your buyers are not hungry and you know what you're serving up to the people that you're a middleman effectively. So that back end buyer has to be really, really good. And if you have better buyers, you know, that's also going to drive that back end number. So that number right there can tell you that something's either wrong with your marketing, wrong with your process, wrong with your people, and usually I'm just investigating that and asking myself those questions. Hopefully that makes sense. Like a wholesale business I look at is like, if I'm spending, so now I'm spending, you know, $5,000 a month on pay-per-lead where I'm buying leads. I'm spending $5,000 a month on direct mail. I'm spending $5,000 a month on, I don't know, Google ads, Facebook ads. So I'm spending, I have a system that does cold calling or something, and that's how much I'm spending. How much are we getting out on the back end? And then I'll analyze, do we need to turn any of these things off? Do we need to turn some of the stuff up? I'll ask myself, if I do turn it up, what's that going to do to the other channels?
What's your cost? What's your cost of sale on your salespeople?
Like what percentage? Yeah, so salespeople for us are about 15% of gross profit, but we're a little bit more complicated. We actually take out the cost per marketing. So like, and the reason why I did that, and it's a little tip for anybody that's running like a high volume wholesaling business. If your salespeople are making a flat percentage on the gross profit of your deal, then when cost per acquisition goes up, your business margins will get massively squeezed. And the salespeople don't care that you're spending more money to get the leads. The business cares. So what we did was we took a 90-day rolling average of cost per deal, and then we remove that from the gross profit, and we
Off
pay
the
a
top
percentage
end.
off of that.
Got it. Totally makes
Yeah.
sense. Yep.
And so you can even increase the percentage potentially, so they feel good about that. But then here's what else. There's a couple things that it did, and this is a huge tip for anybody.
That was a big tip right there. That was awesome.
Yeah, but let's go further, a little bit further, because salespeople are going to push back and be like, I'm going to make less money. And it's like, okay, cool, like self-generate a lead then to drive the cost down. And so what it does is it puts sales and marketing rowing in the same direction together instead of against each other. And so what we noticed, I really did this because I was upset that the salespeople were not driving more of their own leads, like finding their own leads, like posting on social media, talking to realtors, like drumming up their own, because I pay them twice as much commission.
30%.
Like, yeah, you get 20% commission on self-generated lead instead of 10. And so when I started doing this, I was like, look, it's going to do two things. If you self-generate these leads, it's going to drive the cost per acquisition down, and that'll drive your percentage up across the board. And it will also, then self-generating your lead will also give you 20%. All of this will put you into bonus, and next thing you know, you're going to be getting 15% instead of 10 of commission. Because if they get over a quota, they go from 10% up.
They go up.
Yeah, because as a business owner, you know that if my salespeople sell $100,000 a month in gross profit, like that's enough to run the business. If you have a certain number, there's a break-even point where the mountain just becomes like, it falls over where your fixed costs and expenses don't change. So same amount of marketing, same amount of manpower, same amount of labor. I know my break-even in a company. Now, if that salesperson generates twice as much revenue, it doesn't change my fixed costs at all. And so it's all profit to the business. So if I can incentivize them to go really big, then I don't care if I pay an extra 10% commission. So like our commission scale will go from 10 to 20 based on their monthly quota.
Do you look at your top line revenue and say, and allocate a percentage to marketing dollars? You'll say, listen, we did $1 million in revenue, so our budget for next year is $300,000 in marketing, 30%, right? Do you have a percentage number?
Not really. No, I don't do it. What I do is I just spend. If I can spend more and make more, I will. So like, there's a point where I think your marketing budget, you're probably there. It should be probably around. I mean, in the beginning, it was like 100% of my expenses. So like it was that and a little bit of systems and a little bit of people. So it was like all marketing. So I had $5,000 a month originally, and it was like 3,000 of that were marketing. So 60% of my budget was marketing. Now it's probably somewhere between 30 and 40%.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Just in a business like that, in a wholesale business.
Yeah, in a
like
wholesale.
all marketing. In a flipping business, the reason I love flipping business is like your back end profit is like all profit. You know, there's not a lot of like random fixed costs and like a bunch of people that aren't paid, that are paid hourly or things like that to manage the company. You might have a project manager, but they could be percentage based and commission based, and it can all be rolled out and attached to a project. So you can say, hey, and you also don't even have to have any of your own money in that business. There's no real like upfront risk if you raise 110 or 115% of the all-in cost for the project. And then you can get all your deals from wholesalers. So like today, that's why I see a lot more people are flipping today than they are wholesaling. Whereas, probably 3 to 5 years ago, it was a lot more wholesalers than that were flippers. And that's what I just see it in my group. It's like almost our whole group is like flippers now, and 3 years ago, they were all wholesalers. Like it was 80% wholesalers. And because they were finding all these wholesale deals and just selling them on the MLS wholesale or, flipping them to other people. And, the flippers were fine because the wholesalers were producing. And now the flippers are like, we need more deals. There's not enough wholesalers out there finding us good stuff.
What I've found is that on the flipping side of the business, it's a very hard business for people to scale because there's a lot of moving parts in that business, right? So, going from 50 transactions a year to going to 250 to 300 transactions a year, right? Like you get a 5% dip in the market and you're carrying all of those assets like that. There's some vulnerability that's there. So I've seen a lot of flippers kind of come full circle, right? Like they'll go wholesaling, they build like a fixing and flipping machine, only then to go back and circle to do more wholesaling again, and all of them wishing they just held more property along the way, because they're like, oh shit, like well, I should have just held more property along the way. Which goes back to the whole model 2-for-1 or four. Ours is 4-for-1. For every 4 that we turn, we want to keep 1, right? That becomes
Yeah. I see that too. The one thing that I would say, the problem, if you can solve this problem, I think you can scale your flipping business, and it's just overall project management and contractors. Like I think we all know that's usually the point. Your contractor can do, when they're doing like 3 or 4 deals for you at a time, they're great, and then you try to give them 10 and they just like collapse because they don't understand business. And so the people that I see that can really scale a flipping business are the people that also have built out like a vertically integrated a construction company that they own.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 things that I would say. That if I was scaling past like 50 deals a year, because we were trying to do that for a while, I also wanted to build this like turnkey business, but then scaling property management was the problem, and we all know how property management is. So like these are the kind of contractors, property management, like those kind of businesses are notorious for having massive problems. So if I was going to scale a flipping business past 50, I would build my own construction business. That would be what I would do, or I would go to new construction. Those would be the 2 things that I would do, because new construction I can basically just punch out these things like nonstop, same floor plan, and I'm just like, and then I just got to learn the land business and the entitlements structure. So those are the 2 things that I see of people that I've coached that have done really well in scaling through like 30 to 50 deals a year. Then the other people, what they do instead is, if they realize, they try to go to 100 and break, right? They hit a break point. And then they come back and say, well, why don't I just do 30 or 50 like high margin deals? And I'm just way more specific about what I say yes to. And those are the areas that I see of like efficiency when you get to that point. So I think the real conversation for those businesses are, if you're there and you're hearing this, you're like, ask yourself different questions. Instead of saying like, can I do the exact same thing I'm doing right now and do 100 of these? The answer is probably no. There's something that's happening that has to get more efficient in the company. And it's usually contracting, project management. So I'd build my own construction business, because that's a very profitable business too, but they might just work for you.
Yeah, we started building vertically integrated businesses, right? So we have sales teams, we have construction business, we have title, we have mortgage, like hard money, property management, which is our second attempt at property management. And all of them have different levels of complexity and different levels of profitability. I really love our agent teams, because that's one that I focused a lot on. Like, it is a referral. You can create a really good referral-based business out of that. But our cost of sale, the reason why I was asking you, so our cost of sale is significantly higher than it is on the wholesale side, right? The cost of sale is 50% in that business. Expenses are no more than 20% in that business, and profit margin is 30% in that business. On the wholesale side at scale, it sounds like, okay, your cost of sale is probably around 20-25%, and your marketing is significantly higher because you're spending a lot of money making the telephone ring. So you might be at 40%, right? Which would leave you at 30 to 40% profit margin, depending on like how much you are putting into the marketing machine. But I had the same.
That's a high margin wholesale business. I'd be interested to see people making like that much in the wholesale side of business, just the cost of marketing right now. If they have a really good referral machine, they drive their cost of marketing down because they've built a system on like agent referrals and not a lot of it's like more time than it is money being put in. I think most people are getting squeezed in their wholesale business right now. They're probably seeing under 25% margin for sure.
Yeah, 25. Yeah, at scale.
Yeah.
Even on our sales teams at scale, it's like 20 to 25% margin, right? So I get that. Well, cool. Well, can we talk about what you're going to be doing next? Is it
sure.
Is it top secret? Like tell me. Like what? Okay, what are you doing next?
So right now my main focus, I just hired a team for me. I have I'm looking on the board right there. I think there's like 8 different things that I do. So there's like a couple different real estate, but like multifamily and our owner finance deals in Kentucky. I have a farm that does like 700,000 to 800,000 top line revenue a year right now. We have a software business for live events. So it's called In the Room. It's like live event registration, data tracking, analytics, consulting for live event. Anybody does live events like meetups, mastermind meetings, high ticket, like Russell Brunson's Funnel Hacking Live.
That's
do
cool.
That. We did Peace Morby's event, Squad Up Summit. And then the biggest one that I've I need people to run that because I'm going to go do this TV show. So we're filming a TV show. We own the show, me and my partner. He built the idea and concept around his son. We've had kids flipping houses in our community for the last, since 2017. And recently it's been like a huge boom for the families to bring their kids and get their kids up and running. His son, Ollie, it just turned 15 about 2 weeks ago. He's on his fourth deal.
No.
Right before he turned 15, he made $70,000 on a flip.
No. That's crazy.
Yeah, we have a 16-year-old girl that did 7 transactions. She's about to turn 18. She's on her 9th deal, wholesaling and flipping, and now building new construction. And then her some other kids are learning multifamily underwriting, have been underwriting apartment buildings for the last 2 years, and are probably better than most underwriters. And they're 17 and 14, the two of them. And so we've got 6 kids that we're going to go, I'm going to be the host of the show. We're going to follow around for them flipping houses. It's called Kids Who Flip. And the first season was, we have a contract with Warner Brothers. I can't tell you how much, but Warner Brothers wrote us a contract for it where we still own the show and they have the streaming rights to the first season. So it'll be on Netflix, Apple TV, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Apple, HBO Max, Prime, Amazon, Netflix, all the regular places that you can watch it. So I start filming in a couple weeks.
That sounds so exciting. I've always loved to pour into the young entrepreneur. It's kind of like one of my things. I don't know where that comes from. I just love it. I have team members that I've had, that I hired them when they were 18 and they're now 30, right? And so,
wow.
and they've, and they're still with the company and they crush it and they do extremely well. And it's just a lot of fun to see their growth. How did this idea kind of generate? How did it come about?
Well, we started having these kids. This little girl named Riley, her dad and mom are divorced. So she came to our event in 2017. She was 12 years old, and she was the only kid at a conference 500 adults. And it's what her and her dad do together for fun at that time. That's how they bond was with the houses that they were looking at and getting into real estate. She would listen to the podcast with her dad while they were driving around. And it was just really cool to meet her and get to know her. And then the next year, there were 6 kids. Other parents were like, "Oh, I can bring my kids to this event. This event's called Flip Hacking Live. It's in October." And they were like, "Oh, I can bring my kids to Flip Hacking Live." And so then the next year, it was 20 kids. And then in 2021, I asked Riley to present with her dad on stage. And there was 1,100 people in the audience that year. And her and her dad gave a presentation about what they do together, how they do it, the books they read. And then that inspired a whole bunch of kids. There were probably 50 kids at that event. And then the next year I had 2022. Yeah, that was 2022. We had Sophia, who was the 17-year-old. She was 16 at that time, had done 5 deals. And so she presented by herself. And then I had a 12-year-old kid who flipped a house and turned it into a rental for him. And so him and his dad gave a presentation on stage. So we had all these kids kind of now on stage in front of 1,100, 1,200 people, and that would just inspire more kids in the audience to go do it. And then it just kind of kept growing. And then in January this year, I launched a program called Teenage Tycoon. It's a book that I'm writing right now called Teenage Tycoon, and we launched a program for them to teach them about money, business, and real estate. It's not only a real estate program. So it's kids and families that come in that program, and we work with them for the life until they age out of the program. One fee, one time, lifetime access to it until they are done with it. And some of them might be done at 18, some might be done at 20 or 21. I don't care how long they stay. And so that's been a lot of fun. Every Thursday night at 7 Central, I hang out with those kids. I bring in guest speakers and other entrepreneurs that I know, and they read a book every month. They just got done reading Energy Bus.
Oh yeah.
They've read. Sean Covey has come in to talk to. There, it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. So Stephen Covey's son, Sean Covey, has come in to talk to them.
That's
in 2
great.
weeks. We have a woman now who's blowing up on Instagram about her 2-hour learning program, Mackenzie Price. She's coming to talk to them tonight or tomorrow night. So it's just cool stuff that I get to do with the kids. We do live events with them. So it was that, and then Ollie's dad. He's has some investors in TV and film, and so he brought the idea to me about 1.5 years ago, and we've been working on it since, just trying to figure out how to get some traction on it. And I mean, this is a real contract. It's not like my video guys are going to be filming the show. It's a $1.7 million budget for a TV show.
That's awesome.
That is that's going to be 10 to 12 episode of 22 minutes, so a 30-minute show. So like a real director. The director filmed was part of God's Not Dead, the movie. A bunch. I mean, you go to her IMDb profile. It's like hundreds of stuff that she's directed. Real producers. It's really cool. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome, man. I love that. I love that. Okay, man. I could continue asking you questions because there's a lot that you're doing in your world, right? But I think what I'm going to leave my audience with is it sounds like you've got an event coming up, right? You've got an event coming up in October. How many people do you anticipate this year?
I hope we'll have 2,000 because this year is a little different. This year we're doing it virtually. So it's a virtual stream. It's not like a stream like this. Like you're not streaming it on Zoom. I'm in a real studio in South Carolina. It's like a Tony Robbins-esque studio that we use. People come in studio. It's real teaching. It's
I saw Russell. Russell did this, right? Russell did this with
Russell is doing this. I'll be there next week at Funnel Hacking Live. Yeah, so it's in his is in Las Vegas. It's at Eric Worre studio. I'll be there in the studio next week. I made a presentation about kids working with their families and stuff like that, how to bring your kids into your business. So I'm presenting on that at Funnel Hacking Live. So yes, very similar concept. The big thing for us was we spend a lot of money on this event, like $1 million on an in-person event, and it being October, I just wasn't ready to compete with the election at an in-person event this year. I did it 4 years ago and it was a challenge. So
it's a lot. And events are hard.
It makes it easy for people. You don't have to fly there. You don't have to get a hotel. You don't have to do any of those things, and it's $100. So it's like there's no reason for them not to do it. Like if they're serious about getting into the business and doing this, like there's no real big barrier other than 3 days. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, spending some time with us. So I can tell you you'll be engaged. We do breakout sessions. There's networking time. It really is engaging. We have a dashboard that you're entering things in on and playing games. There's points. We're giving away prizes and stuff like this. It's just fun stuff that we do for 3 days. It's high energy. It's a lot of fun. I got a couple really cool keynotes that are coming that I won't announce. I don't really announce these folks to sell tickets. I like to surprise people.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a great 3 days, and we're teaching about the active and passive, just like you talked about. Like that's really something I've never taught before. That I look back and I realized this 10K way that we've built out. Like that's what I did, and that's why when the market changed, I didn't care. Like it didn't bother me. My apartments go up at that time. My cash flow in my business might have gone down a little bit. It was a little tougher to do a few things, but like the levers that I have are just like, where do I focus my attention now? I just have to shift strategies a little bit based on what's going on. So I have enough money to pay my bills if the business turns off for a little bit. And a lot of people didn't build that kind of moat around themselves.
I had a blessing. Blessing was I had the right knowledge at the right time in 2008. And I bought a lot of things when they were all on sale, like 50% off, right? Like it was a scary time. I was recently self-employed, but I found a partner that had a lot of cash. And I said, hey, these things are 50% off the sticker price from before. And so we just kind of dollar cost averaged houses. And then I got the work building a lot of these businesses. But when I looked at what my net worth was, and I looked at where it all came from, and it came from that, right? And I realized that you got to always be building those two machines at any point in time. Last question for you: this software, right? That you have. Tell me a little bit more about that. I'm curious. How does it work? Is it something you developed?
We developed it for our company. It's called In the Room. It's we developed it for my business. We do in-person. We do these live events, right? And I have 1,100 people at a live event, and on Thursday I might have 1,100 people there, and on Friday there were like 1,000 people there. I was like, where did those 100 people go? Like, who are they? Where did they go? So we developed a system to be able to know who's there and who's not there. And so additionally, there's like in-app VIP upsells and check-in process. We make things really smooth for people. So like if anybody's listening has been at Funnel Hacking Live, we did their event last year. Like no line, 5,000 people, very smooth, like iPad check-in, print-on-demand badges. So just kind of a tool for anybody who does live events to optimize their in-person event. We don't do a lot of virtual tracking or anything like that. I have a friend that does that, and we help him with consulting on it. But really, it's just if somebody's hosting an event, even a meetup, there's data that needs to be captured, and we help them do that and make more money. So like Funnel Hacking Live, I can make Russell an extra $500,000 to $1 million at an event like that. Same thing with Pace, big events, smaller events, I can help make an extra $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. I've been doing this for 10 years almost now. So a lot of it comes with consultation of just like, here's a little bit of advice, whether we do business together or not, here's something that I see might be a gap or weakness. And it's like focusing on all the negative data. So if anybody's a marketer, they know that if you don't see the offer that somebody makes at a live event, they're never going to buy your program or whatever you're selling at the live event or whatever you're doing. And some people do live events, they don't sell anything, that's fine. You probably have multiple ticket types or a way that you break even or make money at your event. And what we did was we built a software to figure out how to optimize that. So if you want to upsell some people into a higher ticket package at the event, we can do that at the check-in registration when they're most likely to buy it. They're excited, they're ready to, their friend just went in the VIP line and they're in general admission. I remember when I went to Tony Robbins UPW, I was like, somebody's like, are you a platinum guest? And I was like, my friends that were with me, I was like, what? I was like, no, I'm like a diamond. They're like, a diamond? Oh, that's not very good. I'm like, how do I get this thing? Like, how do I get to where you guys are sitting? You guys are sitting closer than me? Like, what is this? I thought diamond was really good.
Diamond sounds awesome.
Platinum, way better than diamond. And I was like, okay, what are you talking about? I upgraded from the gold. And then so if right when I checked in, if I was able to buy it, I would have bought it. If it's right there, I was like, no, I want to go in that room with you guys. Like, I don't want to be over here. And it takes the salesperson out of the loop, and the cool part for our software is every single person that's at the event has to say no. So it's not like a text message or an email beforehand or somebody on stage. Everybody has to click. Like a funnel, like that little writing at the bottom. No, I don't want this. Move on. So everybody looks at big writing, like this is going to be awesome. You should buy this, and then no. So we just help people make more money with their live events. So if anybody's doing a live event, it's intheroom.live is our website, so they can go check it out.
Well, I'm gonna go check it out, and I'll probably I'm probably gonna hit you up.
If you do live events, just hit that site. You can schedule a call. We can get like demo and stuff like that. So anybody, I mean, even like a small meetup, we have like a $97 a month program. You just download it from the App Store and put it on your iPad, and people can check in. You can ask them a couple of questions like, how'd you hear about this event? You get their real name, email, phone number. They don't have to write it on a piece of paper that you can't read the next day. And then boom, you're building your email list, even to somebody's small scale. Like, you're doing a small real estate meetup in your town. Gather all those leads, capture them, and use them in the future. Put them on your buyer's list or something. Raise money.
Bill, awesome, man. I appreciate it. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, what socials? What's the best social?
At Bill Allen REI is the best. So Bill Allen REI, like Instagram and YouTube. I still answer my own Instagram messages. This is kind of like just getting started on that platform. Facebook, you can find me on Facebook, but I really have a little bit of help with that. I get overwhelmed on that platform. And then we make YouTube videos. I make YouTube videos in my airplane. I fly around and interview entrepreneurs in the cockpit of my airplane and do some cool stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. No, I don't think anybody else has got that on you.
No, nobody else is doing that I can tell. There's some people that are making like aviation content like I do, but nobody. So all my Instagram stuff is all aviation content. It's kind of fun. It's like aviation and money. And then we're on TikTok too. I don't know what that is. Fly with Bill Allen or something. Fly with Bill, something like that. So.
Cool.
I don't spend much time on TikTok, but we post videos on there for anybody who's on it. Yeah.
Well, Bill, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for pouring into us over the last hour. There's a lot. I've got a lot more questions, but I'm not going to ask you now. I'll ask you at a later date. I'll bring you back for something else.
Perfect.
But if we can help you in any single way, just let us know, right? We're a community of 40,000 right now across the U.S., and so I think there's probably going to be a lot of people that discover you. So we appreciate it.
All those people should come to our event, Flip Hacking Live. If I can get 40,000 people there, that would be awesome.
That'd be great, right? They'd want it. Okay, Bill.
All right.
Take care, man. Take care.